Hey guys, I wanted to take this video as an opportunity to kind of start talking a bit about something pretty traumatic that happened to me recently. I was driving to work and I was in the East Bay, driving through Berkeley on my way to Emeryville, and uh, this guy in a BMW flew past me on the left lane as I was merging, and he honked a bunch and stopped his car. I didn't do anything, but he got super pissed and he stopped his car mid block and he waited for me to come past him. And I did the best that I could to just keep driving and not engage and not get into a bunch of shit with this guy. And he stayed alongside my car the whole time and he kept honking, and I just did not engage. I tried to just go to work and not think about what was happening, and I just wanted to get on with my day and not do anything. And I don't know what I did wrong, but we came up to a stoplight and there was a white truck in front of me, and I was boxed in around all these other cars, and I stopped my car behind this big white truck, and the guy in the BMW stopped his car right behind me, and I looked in my rearview mirror and I saw him get out, and he had a big aluminum bat, and he stood right in front of my car and was telling me get the fuck out. And I've never thought that I would ever be in a situation like this. I never saw this coming. I'm not driving a nice car. I'm driving a 2004 gray Honda Civic. It is not something that looks like a fancy car, or I have money. I don't have money. But this guy had the bat. He was standing right in front of my car, and I was by myself, but we were surrounded by other people, and I was boxed in, and I was trying to just get out of there and not get hurt, and I was shaking and scared, and the guy looked like he was about to swing the bat and hit the car, the front windshield, and he kept telling me to get out of the car. And he was he looked to be about 50 years old. He had a gray beard. He was African American, and he was so angry. And I've never seen another adult that angry in person standing before me who wanted to kill me. And this guy, maybe he didn't want to kill me, maybe he just wanted to beat the shit out of me, but I've never had that happen to me before, and it's terrifying. And it's a traumatic event. And as much as people can sit there and say, like, you'll get through it, you'll heal and you'll be better afterwards, there's no getting away from these traumatic events in life and directly addressing them, because they change who you are and they change how you look at the world afterwards. And this was on Thursday this week. Um, and I still am terrified every time I roll to a stoplight now, because I just feel like, you know, I'll see this black BMW pull up behind me again, and this guy will get out and want to kill me. And as I was driving away from the light turned green, and finally the white truck started pulling away, and the guy was standing in front of my car, but he stepped aside and he was on the right next to the driver's side window, staring at me, telling me again to get out of the car. As I just drove away. I did not make any sudden movements. I did not pull out my phone. I did not want to do anything to make this guy think I was going to do anything aggressive. Uh, I just drove away very slowly, and he hit his bat on the back, on the trunk lid of my car as I was driving away. And there's this nice line in the shape of his bat on the back of my gray Honda Civic. And the scary thing for me here is that I just don't know what I did wrong, and I don't know what I would do differently if I was in the same situation. Um, and these are things that I think maybe over time I'll have a better idea of how to respond to and avoid these types of events. But the biggest problem for me is that it was a day like any other day. I had no reason to believe any of this stuff. And I also have no reason to believe that I did anything wrong that would have provoked such an insane response. And also, the East Bay and Berkeley and Emeryville and Oakland are all areas that I know there's crimes, and I hear about the crimes, and I get the text messages from Nixle or whatever, and people can just sit there and, all right, I'm aware of crimes that are happening, but there's nothing like actually being there in person and actually having it happen to you. And it is a very scary event, and there's no getting around that. And I'll be honest, I am a lot more scared just in general now. Um, and it's like these things, these experiences that happen will always be with you. And, I had a really hard time going to work on Friday morning because I kept thinking maybe this guy is going to be waiting for me on my way out, and he's going to find where I live, or next time he's gonna have a gun with him. I'm thankful this guy didn't have a gun when he was that angry at me, and I hope I never see him again. But I can't tell you with any certainty that I won't. Um, but it's part of life. There's unknown unknowns, and there's risk involved with everything that I do, every choice that I make, and even things when it seems like everything's fine, and like it's another beautiful day. The weather was fine. It was warm. There was like no reason at all for me to think some shit's gonna go down today, but it does, and it's when you least expect it that these bad things happen. And it's really hard to, uh, like, I know when you talk about bullying and being in school, and people tell you things about how when you let yourself get down, you're letting the bullies win. And I mean, for me, this is very similar dynamic to like when I was in middle school or high school. Like when people tell you bad things because they want to make you feel bad, and then you actually do feel bad, you're letting them win. And it's just vicious. It's like human nature, people wanting to dominate other people. And I don't know, it's like this is not going to be a happy video. I'm not. I don't know. I purposely try to not think too heavily about this kind of stuff because like this is just a dark path to go down. But there's just no getting around traumatic events, and when you bring things up like this, it's really hard for people to, I think, even empathize with if you've never been there, if you've never experienced something like this. I'm 22 years old, okay? I've gone through shit in school with kids beating me up every day and getting in fights and all this stuff. And there's still nothing out there that really prepares you for what the real world is like when you're in these kinds of environments where shit is going down. And it's really scary and not good for your mental health either. And I know that. And that's part of the reason why I'm talking about it. Um, So on Friday, I did drive into work and I didn't see this guy again. I didn't see him. Um, I filed a police report. I got his license plate. I took a picture. Um, Maybe he's going to come find me and kill me. What the fuck am I going to do about it? I don't know. Um, this is really, moments like these are like really hard to just kind of think through and get through. And it's good to distract yourself with things you enjoy doing, but at the same time, you need to step up and address your fears in life. And right now, this is one of my biggest fears, which is just getting the shit beat out of me and getting killed on the street somewhere and no one seeing it or doing anything about it. Because basically, this has all the makings of like a pretty nice traumatic event. Like, I was trapped. This guy wanted to beat the shit out of me. He had a weapon. All these people were just boxing me in and not doing anything and sitting in their cars at the stoplight. And uh, these moments are definitely hard moments to go through, and I don't wish this on anyone. um, and it's just kind of like part of life, and life has its lows and its highs, and this is definitely one of its lows. And as sad as I get, I still look at people like this guy and I can know that he's probably been through a lot of shit too. And to for someone like me, because I know I'm white, maybe I strike him as somebody who did something really mean to him before in the past or whatever. I don't know, but something I did or something about the way I look elicited a response from this guy that I couldn't. The his response to whatever gesture, or not the gesture, but me looking like I was cringing on his lane while I was driving to work, while I was merging, clearly it evoked a response that was disproportionate to that. And my car has this nice dent now on the trunk lid that I'm never gonna forget. And like I know this guy doesn't care at all about me, and I really try to distance myself from thinking too much about these kinds of things. But um, it's hard. And like, my dad died suddenly at the end of 2018, and I did not see that coming. And my life is just, oftentimes it seems like there's a huge lack of social support. But I've been, you know, it losing my dad really pushed me to kind of reach out to more people in my family and form better relationships with people that I trust. And I will say having the strong social support network does help in times like these when it's really scary and sad. And I was terrified to go to work the next day, but I still went. Um, and I go to cognitive behavioral therapy sessions at Kaiser, and I go to the classes to listen to what these trained psychologists have to say about CBT. And I try to follow this stuff because I am someone who reflects and thinks a lot about it. But it's just really hard. And I know specifically for trauma CBT, in case anyone out there does have trauma or experienced it recently, the take home message of trauma CBT is to just acknowledge that in this moment you are okay and you're breathing and you're alive. And no matter what happened in the past, it's in the past, and you don't have to worry about what's happening right now. Um, this is something weird with me, but it's like when I have to start consciously acknowledging every breath, every inhale, and every exhale that I make, it can get pretty stressful. And so sometimes it just feels like I'm trapped, and it's really scary. And it just, like, this is part of growing up and becoming a man for me, is just going through these types of experiences. I don't necessarily want to, but this is part of becoming a very strong person and living life. And I financially, it's like, it, let's say I let the bad guy win in this case. I'm so terrified I never go outside, I never drive to work again because I'm just so worried that I'll get killed the next time I go outside. Well, now I can't work anymore and I can't do all these other things in life that I enjoy doing, and I basically let this guy win. And so a big part of what drives me in life is to just show and prove people wrong who think I'm a piece of shit, who think I'm nobody. And that's not necessarily a healthy way to look at life, but it's the way I have to look at life because there's just so much shit that happens that I can't be someone who just always looks at it with this positive image of, uh, you know, there's always a way to talk out of these things, and there's always a thing you could have done differently that would have made things better. I think that's complete bullshit. And I look at people who are profoundly optimistic, overly optimistic, and I just entirely disagree with them. And I think there's always a solution and there's always a way out. There's realities to life, and you have to be a realist, in my opinion, to actually enjoy life. If all you wanted was to be happy, do drugs all day and get drunk. You know, my goal in life is not to be happy. Um, my goal in life is to live up to my values and be happy with the choices that I make. Or I'm using happy poorly right now, but yeah, it's definitely hard. And I'm making this video so that a month, a year from now, when I'm somewhere else or older as a person, I can look back and this video is kind of a way for me to just capture a moment or a feeling, much like writing. But these things are definitely scary, and subconsciously, your brain is doing a lot behind the scenes to kind of rationalize these things and to uh, protect yourself because that's what we've been hardwired to do as human beings. And we're programmed to avoid taking risky behaviors, and try to people want to have a zero risk reward or whatever, and that's just not possible. And so to end this little reflection, or whatever you want to call this, on like a high note, I guess that is, and Muhammad Ali said this too, and I love that guy. You know, you have to take risks to enjoy your life. I'm paraphrasing, but a life without risks is meaningless, in my opinion. You have to acknowledge the chance that, yeah, maybe something will go wrong today. Maybe uh, I won't make it. But that shouldn't stop you from still trying your best and reaching for things that you want in life. And um, it's tough. Um, but it's part of life. It's part of becoming an adult and a stronger person. And, it's not really until you've moved around and seen different cities and different ways people live, and not only hear about it from a guy like me, but you actually are there in person and you feel these things that I can't even describe, that you really become more well-rounded of a person and stronger. And uh, yeah, it's definitely, and I know a lot of people go through traumas far worse than what I go through. And part of the thing that makes humans and their brains so beautiful to me is that people who are in some of the worst situations can still be resilient and even stronger than I am, in terms of just living their life and doing things they want to do and getting out and being happy and finding love and the good in people in the world and focusing on that, but also acknowledging the bad and staying away from it. And that's something that I strive to do as a human being. But it's always life is just a huge work in progress, and nobody's perfect. And so I hope maybe my thoughts here are useful to some people out there who are just going through the same shit. And yeah, thanks for watching.